Hey guys, can remember Bates Motel Season 4, Episode 4, Lights of Winter, and obviously was looking forward to this episode. I mean, this has been a crazy season, it really has, and I couldn't have asked for more because that's exactly what I want the show to be. This show needs to be crazy or it gets boring. It really does, and especially with a show like this. And without a doubt, this was my favorite episode of the season. Not just because of the fact that we finally saw Norman go into true madness, but we finally saw him kind of understand what's going on and us also understand, really what's happening here. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, they've ruined Norman's character and Norman's not acting the way he should be. Because that's how it's supposed to be. He's supposed to get crazier. He's supposed to get weirder. He's supposed to be more maddening. That's just how it is. And I think Freddie Highmore is just killing it. I mean, he killed it this episode. He killed it. He's killed in every single episode this season. He really is doing an awesome job. And I think he really is understanding how to play Norman Bates, this side of Norman Bates, because he's crazy. He really is, and he did that very well here, and I definitely really enjoyed that. But let's just get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about. Like I said, by far my favorite episode of the season, and it's only going to get crazier from here. Really, it is. So I love the way this episode starts out, though, because last week's episode focused more on Norma and Romero and kind of like how they're dealing with their situation. Norma's more on the side. This, without a doubt, was Norman's episode. And I'm not saying the others haven't, but they've been more about Norma and how she's dealing with Norman. This was finally Norman's time to shine, to show what he's going through, to show what he's feeling, and right away we see that at Pineview, Norman's awaiting his morning wake up and morning meds, and that's something that happens at the hospital, and he's imagining his mother killing his dad and imagining killing Miss Watson, which is very interesting, and he's not even taking meds, but relents when he learns he can't leave his room without doing so, and obviously he wants to get out of there. So basically, he works to throw them back up because he does not like them. And plus, if you remember, he doesn't feel like he should be there. He doesn't even feel like he needs it. So he runs into Julian, who already I'm thinking Julian is going to be someone that he ends up killing. Because Julian in this episode, they're friends right now, but that does not mean they're going to remain friends. Because he basically is on a mission to have Norman become his best friend for whatever reason. I guess it's probably because he made Norman, and Norman actually talked to him. And remember, in this hospital, there wasn't anyone that was really Julian's age, and now he kind of wants to be friends with Norman, but Norman has more important things on his mind. Basically, he wants to make this private phone call, and Julian can help with that. He breaks his new friend in the office for the night staff because butter knives are just great, and he breaks him in with a butter knife of all things, and I love the way this was done, because the whole episode, Norman's doing really bad things, and he doesn't care. He wants to get out of there. So the call Norm wants to make is to Dylan to alert him that Norma's in trouble. And the way this was done was very well handled because Dylan literally just confronted Norma last week. He talked to her. They had a really nice conversation. So Dylan's obviously very confused and concerned to hear this about Norman. He has no idea what's going on. And he's also very concerned because his brother at first is saying that, he doesn't know what's going on, especially when Norman starts telling him he's getting out of Pineview and about the police are going to show up now that everyone's secrets have been spilled. And Dylan's saying, do you have to talk to your doctor? Should I call the doctor? He's really freaking out. He doesn't know what to do here. And he realizes that everyone thinks he's the problem and that no one is taking him seriously. And that's the thing. That's the thing with Dylan. Everything about his world has gone crazy, but he's just not. He's kind of the sane one, and he doesn't really know how to deal with that. Everyone else is going through something, and he's really not. He's kind of the only thing that Dylan seems to be going through is this whole thing with where Caleb is. That's the only thing. Other than that, he's not really dealing with anything that monumental, and it kind of is affecting him, and you have to understand why that's affecting him, because think about it. Dylan is the one person, like I said, that's not going through anything, and he can already tell that something's going on between Norman, even though Norman says, don't worry about me, I made it up, he just right away is saying, oh, don't worry about me, I made it up and everything. So Dylan can tell that there's definitely something shady going on, and he doesn't know what it is. He just knows that there's something bad going on, and obviously he's very worried about his brother, which he should be, and I like the way that was done. And I like as we get closer that everyone's starting to get involved, and basically we then see Norma and Romero. If you remember, they had that one night, and they've now actually had sex. They're now sleeping together. They're trying to work out this whole marriage situation. They're trying to make things better. They're trying to enjoy it, and you can tell that they're trying to actually enjoy this marriage because of course originally it was just something to do to help them out with money situations and to get Norma away from Norman, and that seems to be working, but it also seems like these two are genuinely falling in love, and I really like seeing that's kind of cute, but you also know it's probably going to be their downfall because like I said, Norman has to kill someone that Norma's in love with, and that's Romero at this point. Basically, Norma, who was self-assured and willing we last saw her, is now hesitant and drawn back. She doesn't know if this is the way to go, but she agrees to Romero's suggestion to open a joint checking account, and Romero asks Norma to come over to the Winter Festival with him. Norma declines because she needs to visit Emma, and the moment of Romero finding out about Emma and Dylan, I really like, because Romero didn't know. He just has this look in his face like he's proud of Dylan, and he's very happy about it. He's not against it, but he didn't know about it. It's a sweet moment, but Romero can tell that she's holding back, and Norma realizes that she is too, and when she finally leaves, she allows herself a moment alone where she seems to finally understand her true feelings for Romero. And it's a good scene because we've dealt with this for 2 seasons now. We've known that she's had complicated feelings, and I think this is the moment where she's finally realizing that she is in love with Romero and that she does want to be with him. And it's a really nice moment. I definitely enjoyed that. I thought that was really good, and what's sad about this episode is that the only the only stuff that's not crazy in this episode is everything going on the side, because everyone else's lives are relatively calm and they don't really know how to deal with that sort of thing. Norma especially, I don't know how Norma's dealing with the fact that there's nothing really crazy or monumental going on in her life because Norman's not there right now. So we see at Pineview they make you do things like talk about your feelings in group sessions, which Norman just does not want to do. He does not want to talk about how he feels, and besides, he's making sure that he's getting out of there. That's the big thing. He's making sure that he's going to get out of there. Basically, Edwards comes to talk to him, assures him that they have reported Norma based on his accusations. If you remember in the last episode, he said that Norma was the one at fault, that he shouldn't be there, and Edwards is believing him. He's sticking with the story because Norma, and of course, Norman genuinely thinks this. Like, this isn't Norman being sneaky. He genuinely thinks that this is Norma's fault and that she's the one that killed Miss Watts, and she's the one that killed Audrey. He thinks this still. But they need to continue working in the meantime, basically that he's not going to leave, and this is freaking out Norman. He wants to do whatever he can to leave. Norman takes that as Dr. Edwards not believing him. He angrily tries to leave unsuccessfully, and you know that he's not going to leave as easily as he thinks he's going to leave. So unsuccessfully, Julian rescues him from getting into more trouble, then promises he can get him out. That is, if he wants to get him out, he will find a way to do that, and he doesn't really know how he's going to do that, but he's going to try to do that, and you can definitely tell that, again, Julian's just trying to get on his good side. He doesn't really know how to, but he's trying to, and I like seeing that. And of course, he doesn't know that Norman's crazy. He thinks that Norman's actually serious when wanting to get out of there. So Norma arrives to visit Emma, who's surprised and happy to see her surrogate mom, and Dylan's been keeping her in the loop about Norman, so she knows what he's going through, definitely. She knows what's going on with Norman, so she's not surprised about that. And we haven't seen scenes between Norma and Emma in a while, and we remind that they're one of the sweetest relationships on the show. I mean, how Norma always has cared about Emma, and Norma admits that she's scared. She doesn't know what to do. I mean, she's never felt this kind of fear before, and that's kind of why I don't think she's just scared about Norman. I think she's also scared that things really aren't happening right now, and she wishes Emma tells her that maybe this is a good thing, a chance to be away from Norman, to be on her own, to think about herself, and Norma seems to agree, even though usually she's saying, no, I need to be close to Norman. I think she's at a point now where she's realizing that, yeah, from Norman, that is the best thing to do, and that Emma's actually right for once, and that's something I don't think Norma's realized till this season, and that's something I think that Vera Farmiga is just portraying perfectly. The idea that she needs to be away from Norman, the idea that she needs to start up her own life because she needs to move on, and that's exactly what needs to happen, and I think Vera Farmiga, like I said, is really portraying that really well, and I really admire the way she's been portraying that all season. Really good stuff from Norma this entire season, and I like that she finally just listens to Emma. She's not saying, no, I need to be close to Norman. She's saying, you know what, you're right. She doesn't even say anything. She just knows that she's right, and it's a good moment. I definitely really enjoyed that. We don't get a lot of moments with Emma here, but I like seeing that, and Romero then gets a text from Rebecca, remember that ex that was hounding him about money and everything, and while I thought thought last week she was kind of unnecessary, this does actually become very important in this episode, and I really actually like where this went. Basically, she alerts him to come to the bank where she asks point blank if he killed Bob Paris, because she knows there's something going on with Bob Paris, and obviously Romero doesn't fess up. He's not going to tell the truth, and again, the fact that he's not telling anyone that he killed Bob Paris is definitely a problem, because of the fact that, he should at least tell Norma, but this is definitely, you can tell that this is definitely going to get worse as it goes on. And Rebecca tells him that Bob had tons of money, like $3 million worth of it, in the safe deposit box, but the only problem is the safe deposit box requires 2 keys, and the bank only has 1. So she's thinking Romero has the other, and she knows that he probably did kill Bob Paris and that he's lying, but she's not going to call him out for it. She's basically silently calling him out by saying, oh, I know you have the other key. But we don't know if he has the other key. He kind of does. Because Romero returns home, he goes to where he's hidden the money in Norma's basement. He rips open a few packages of cash until he finds Bob's passport with the key hidden inside. And it's clear that he's going to try to keep this hidden because he doesn't want anyone to know what's going on. Somehow, Norma's going to figure this out. I mean, it's literally right in their house. So she's got to figure this out at some point. I don't know when she's going to figure this out, but I feel like this is definitely going to show that this is not going to be as easy as Romero thinks. I mean, Romero clearly wants to be very sneaky about this story. I think he doesn't really want anyone to know what's going on, and it's not going to be easy to do. Even though he wants to, it's not going to really work, I think, as well as he wants it to. So Norma then returns home, does a little thinking about Emma's words, going so far as to pick out a new outfit and even putting away Norman's framed photo, which is something she never would have done 2 seasons ago, but it really shows that she wants to move on from Norman. She wants to move on with her life. She wants to enjoy her life, and she really wants to appreciate life more, and the best way to do that is to push herself away from Norman, and I love the way that was handled. So she surprised Romero at the Winter's Fest, and he gets her both funnel cake and a hot tootie, which basically, when Romero's pulled away to do some important photo ops, we even see these two dancing. Like, they're actually having a good time, and they're trying to make the most of what they've created. Like I said, even though it started as fake, it's starting to feel more and more real. Like, you really do feel like these two genuinely love each other. And Romero's then pulled away to do some important photo ops. Rebecca introduced herself to Norma, and you knew that she was going to get involved somehow. And he later asked how Romero, about her while they slow dance. They return to the house happy and affectionate, but their mood is broken when they realize that someone's broken in, and although he doesn't say anything, of course, Romero knows exactly why. No one's broken in. Romero, of course, showed up, unannounced when Norma wasn't there. He went to the safety deposit box, and Norma pretty much thinks that someone's broken in, and he's gonna need to fess up, because right now, at least, like I said, he's trying to be very low-key about it. He's not trying to say anything, but it's only going to get worse. I mean, she's got to find out at some point. It's right there. Like, the safe deposit box is right there, and there's got to be a point where she finds out. I don't know when she's going to find out, but definitely you have to think that she's going to find out at some point. And, definitely, I like the way that was done here. And I like that Rebecca's getting involved, because Rebecca is suspicious. She knows that Romero's hiding something. She doesn't believe Romero's lies, and I don't think Norma's going to believe him for very long either. I think definitely Norma doesn't really think anything's going on right now, but soon I definitely think she's going to think something's going on. So now we get to the crazy stuff. That's pretty much everything that happened with Norma in this episode. This is when we get to all the crazy stuff with Julie and Norman that I know you want me to talk about. Let me just say that the last, I'd say 20, 30, 15 minutes of this episode, I had no idea what was going to happen. I was completely glued to the screen, and I was before. I was really enjoying it the whole time, but I was glued to the screen for these last 15 minutes, because Julian does help Norman sneak out, and basically Julian, what he does, he sneaks a key card from the office. He gets out the window. They attempt to hitchhike when Norman finds out a little bit more about Julian, which I like this little backstory here. He's been there for 4 years. He comes from a high-class family where he feels he doesn't belong, and he really is all about having these amazing outings. So you can tell that Julian always leaves because he just doesn't feel like he belongs there, which is interesting. And Norman, for his part, reveals that he doesn't really share Julian's reckless attitude, but now it's too late, and he can't really say anything about it because he wanted to get out of there. And really, Julian did him a favor, but he's realizing right now that he really doesn't resemble it, which is interesting that we saw that. And basically they have a bit trouble finding a ride because it would have been easy because it's just they can't find a ride for whatever reason. And we don't know where Julian's taking Norman. Where he takes him is a strip club of all places, which I was surprised about. And obviously this is the one place that Norman should not be right now, because obviously his mental state, if the mother personality comes out, I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen here, but we knew the second he went to the show, I'm like, oh no, this is not going to work. Julian is all about the girls. He's hanging out with them, the dancing and the freedom, leaving Norman to his own devices while he parties up with the VIP people. Norman, however, is completely out of his element. He's not enjoying this at all. He does not want to be there, and he wants to leave. And I don't think it's just a mother personality. I think this is Norman in general. This is not the place for him. And one of the girls tried to rile him up by getting him into one of the VIP rooms, but Norman is the complete wrong audience for this kind of thing, you can tell. He's not even turned on. Like, he's not attracted to what she's doing. She's taking off her bra, she's taking off her top and everything, and he doesn't care at all. And I will admit, that girl was okay. She wasn't that attractive, I definitely will say that. She's kind of just a typical stripper or whatever you say, but still, I mean, he should at least be a little bit attractive. But you can tell the mother personality is definitely coming out here, because what he says, I mean, is shocking. What he says is shocking, it's disturbing, and it just shows how off he really is, because the mother personality pretty much comes on, and he says this isn't a place for Norman, he shouldn't be there. He says, well, the clueless girl attempts over and over again to seduce him. You know, I understand she's just doing her job, but just the fact she didn't realize anything weird was going on, I mean, she's probably had weird things before, so maybe she thinks he's role-playing, but she's stupid. She really is stupid. She has no idea what's going on here. Norman escalates into Norma, and we know we're watching this from Norman's point of view. This was really cool to see, because we see in his mind everything Norma is doing. And I love how it switched from Freddie Highmore to Vera Farmiga really quickly. And we saw Norma basically seducing this woman, and you can see how uncomfortable she really is, and she's kissing another woman. Of course, this isn't really Norma, it's just who, you know, the mother personality, that's who Norman thinks it is, and their moment is interrupted by a ruckus, thanks to Julian getting into a fight with bouncers outside, and Norman watches his friends get attacked. He tries to defend himself, but ends up watching helplessly. Now, I thought it was going to be Dylan that showed up, but it's not Dylan, it's actually Julian, and basically, you have to think this is sort of the thing that Julian gets into a lot, because we know he leaves a lot, but this is clearly scaring Norman. He does not want to be there. He's out of his element, and Edwards arrives to find Norman sitting in the back of an ambulance, cuffed and in shock, because he doesn't really know how to respond to this. He's never really felt this way before, and you can tell that Norman's kind of back to his regular self. This is a really effective scene, I gotta say. Probably my favorite scene of this season, besides the ending of episode 2. I mean, just the way the scene was done. There's one thing you have to understand when you play the character of Norman Bates, is that you can go crazy, you can be insane, you can act like you're not yourself, but you have to understand that when you're in that personality, that is the mother personality. That's not actually Norman Bates. The real Norman Bates has no idea what's going on with him. He's sitting in the back of the ambulance, cuffed and in shock. He tries to take care of him. Norman asks if anything bad happened, but according to Edwards, nothing did, and that's the truth. Nothing bad really did happen, because Julian kind of saved him from doing something bad. Because the second that the Norm personality came out, I'm like, he's gonna kill this girl. I was thinking that's what was gonna happen, but nothing actually happened here, and Edwards takes Norman back while they sit together in his car. He explains Julian's situation, how it's not the first time he ran away, and how he does it for attention, hoping someone will care enough to come after him. And I didn't think Norman was doing this to get Julian in trouble. I think he's just doing this to say why this all happened and what ended up happening here. And Edwards tells him he knows he's not taking his meds, but that he can't help Norman if Norman won't let him. And whether it's the events of the night or something else entirely, Norman just breaks down. He starts crying. I mean, he's really upset. And I really think it's because he can't control what's going on with him, and he knows that, and he cries amidst his blackouts. He asks if Norma killed anyone, and he tells Edwards how he never knows what's real or not. He does know what to do. Norman wants help. Norman needs help, and that's basically how the episode ended, and it's really tragic ending, because now Norman's realizing he has no idea what's going on with him, he can't control it, and there's nothing he can really do about it, and it really sucks. He's realizing this now. It's probably the worst time for him to realize it, but I think he's just realizing that there's nothing he can really do here. Even though he wants to help himself, and he wants to maybe turn things around, he can't do that, because the Norman's personality is going to come out all the time, and he really can't control at this point. And that's how the episode ends. times. Amazing, amazing stuff. I really love this episode. Like I said, Freddie Highmore really killed it in this episode. And now we gotta wait 2 weeks, which, okay, whatever, fine. I'm not too upset about that we gotta wait 2 weeks, because there's no Supergirl either next week. There's Better Call Saul, though, so I will definitely review that, but there's no Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, there's no Supergirl, there's no Bates Motel. I mean, there's, like, nothing on next week when it comes to Monday. Nothing really Tuesday either. We'll get into that, but basically, I really love this episode, and like I said, Freddie Highmore, I think, really acted the hell out of this episode, and he's really understanding the character of Norman Bates. The real Norman Bates is very confused, he doesn't know what to do, and he wants help, and he doesn't really know how he's going to get it. If you guys know the story, though, there is no helping him. Even though you want to help him, there is no helping him, and I think it's interesting to see what's going on there, the way that's being handled. I am definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen with Norman. Very hard to watch, definitely. Those last 15 minutes, they were hard to watch, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how Norm was going to react. I didn't know what the mother personality was going to do. And like I said, I thought that it was going to end up killing that one stripper. And if she died, I wouldn't have cared because she was stupid. She really was. But still, I would have been really upset. And what's going to happen between Norman and Julian? Because now Norman told Edwards everything. Is this going to maybe change the relation between them? I mean, Julian, I think, just wants to be friends with Norm because he doesn't really have anyone else. And you got to feel bad for the guy. Like, he is obviously a rebellious kid, but he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. And he doesn't really feel like he should be there, so he sneaks out a lot. And I like the way that's going with Julian and Norman. We'll have to see where that goes. But really good stuff between this episode. I definitely am liking these characters. It's clearly not someone that Norman wants to be friends with or has the same interest with, but he just really understands him. Like, he understands the situation. Norman kind of feels the same way, and I like the way that they bonded over that. Definitely really good stuff with them in this episode. Edwards is clearly believing Norman because Norman's putting up this really good act. And again, in his mind, this is not him lying. He actually thinks that Norma is killing people and that Norma is the one responsible for all these things. And we know that from, of course, the scene. You know, when he turns into that mother personality, he's not himself. He's someone different entirely, and he doesn't really know how to control it anymore. And there's nothing really he can do to control it. You know, he could take the medication, but it's not going to do anything. He could try to he could try to find a way to get rid of it. It's not going to do anything. It's going to come out, and there's really nothing he can do about it at this point. And he knows that. I think Norman's just realizing taking the medication is going to do nothing. And again, he doesn't feel like he should be there because he doesn't feel like he's done anything wrong, which is really sad, definitely, and I really do feel bad for him. But I like the way that Norma's going. Norma completely is shutting Norman out of her life, and she doesn't really feel like she needs him anymore. We know that eventually Norman's going to come back to Norma, and the way I think it's going to go is it's going to be tragic because when Norman comes back, Norma's going to forget all about him. She's going to probably not let him back in. She's going to probably want him set away, and especially if she doesn't think he's better, definitely it's going to be very rough between what happens between her and Norma. I don't know Norman. I don't know what's going to happen between her and Norman exactly, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there, especially, like I said, if she doesn't let Norman in. We'll have to see what happens with that. That's going to be very interesting. But I like that she took Emma's advice and actually didn't say, oh, I need to, stay with Norman, I need to be a mother to him. No, she's realizing that my son is crazy, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm terrified, and I need to just get the hell out of there. And I like that she came to that realization. I'm glad that she's starting to understand that she needs to get away from Norman, that he needs to be by himself for a while, and that's the best thing for him right now. She's got to find out about Romero at some point, because right now she thinks they have an intruder, and if he's going to keep breaking into their house, I mean, it's not going to end well, and someone's going to end up finding out something. Rebecca is clearly suspicious of Romero. I think someone's going to end up ratting him out. I don't know who, but either Rebecca's going to tell Norma or she's going to think something. But I think Rebecca has an inkling that Romero's not telling the truth. And especially, like I said, if he keeps breaking in and things like that, this is not going to end well for anyone, but we'll have to see what happens there. I'm definitely interested in that, and I like the way they're making this interesting. Like, it doesn't just feel like, oh, we gotta give Romero something to do. You really do see that he genuinely wants to, not tell anyone this because he feels ashamed. He doesn't know why he killed Bob Paris. And remember, he's never killed anyone before, and he doesn't know why he's killed Bob Paris. He clearly is regretting it, and he knows that, if anyone finds out, his position at the ADA is over, his relationship with a lot of people changes, and he's gonna have to have a lot of things that he doesn't want to deal with. But he made that choice. He made that choice to kill Bob Paris, and he needs to understand that, and I can't wait to see where that goes. Dylan has to be in the most awkward position, though, because his life is so calm, and he can't really do anything about it. And I don't think it's that Dylan doesn't want this calm life. I don't think that's what it's about. I don't think he wants things to be not, sane. I think he wants things to be calm, but everything's crazy with Norman and Norma, and everything's just calm for him, and he doesn't really know how to deal with it, what he's going to do about that. We'll have to see what happens. As far as we know, that whole drug business thing, I mean, that's not yet in the episode, but we know eventually that that's going to come out, that he should do more than the drug business. We know he's trying to find better work, and like I said, I really think Dylan's going to go on maybe a career as an actual salesman. I could see him doing that. I think it's better for him than to do a drug business. Right now, I think he's just trying to figure things out. We didn't really get to that in this episode because, like I said, it really was Norman's episode, and it all really focused on Norman's psyche, the way that Norman's feeling, the way that Norman gets out of this situation, which, as we saw in this episode, there really is no getting out of this situation. Even though Norman wishes there was a way to get out, there really is no getting out. This is the way his personality is. This is the way he is now. This is no longer just Norman's split. This is Norman Bates. Very slowly, this is going to turn into Norman Bates. I mean, you guys have seen Psycho. You know that, and that's something that I think they're doing very well, something they're portraying very well, and I'm really loving the way that they're handling everything going on with Norman. A lot of people, like I said, saying that he's acting too crazy, but it should be all or nothing. Norman Bates is a role, you got to give it your all or nothing. I mean, that's really the kind of character it is. When Norman's Norma, he's crazy. He doesn't control himself. He acts like someone completely different, and he can't really do anything about it. And you really did see that, especially when we see that he's thinking this is Norma. And I thought they handled that really well. I love the way all that turned out. But overall, guys, absolutely incredible episode. By far my favorite episode of the season. And also, I think, really the breaking point for the season. Like, it really shows where the rest of the season's going to go. Norman now knows that there's something going on that he can't control, and there's nothing he can do about it, and he just wants some help. He wants some help. He knows it's not really going to do anything, but he wants some help. He just wants something to change, and he needs someone to help him maybe try to figure out what's going on. But overall, guys, like I said, amazing episode. Absolutely loved it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for Better Call Saul, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.